Thank you. So grab like one of those, a pencil if you don't have one, and sign in for me. You can have a seat anywhere.
All right, you ready, Vaughn?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and start.
All right. So good morning. Good morning. So hopefully you guys are awake, right? So this is going to be very, very, very informal. You are not in class. Please understand that. If you are a Christian, ask God to forgive him because he uses profanity, and that's just how it is. Period.
Just me though, right?
Huh?
Just me though.
Just him. I
Okay.
don't use.
All right.
I use a small one. He uses like big, serious one. He's a real customer. I'm not. I'm not. But no. I want you guys to know that we're gonna have fun while we learn. And again, this is not class, so relax, calm down. No one's gonna steal your purse, your cell phone. No one's gonna hurt you. We're all here to get the same information. All right. How many of you have taken the test before? Okay, okay. What I want to do first, well, first of all, I'm Miss Vaughn. Just call me Vaughn. I'm good with that. First of all, I want to know where you're from. Give us your name, what school you go to, and tell us what grade you're in, if you don't mind. So we'll start. We always start in the front. We'll start in the back.
David Drier, I go to Auburndale. I'm a senior.
So David just got accepted to West Florida, right?
Yeah.
Good job, David. All right, Auburndale senior. Okay.
Auburndale, my name's Emery, and
Sophomore? Oh, okay.
my name's Michaela. I'm a junior at Lakeland Collegiate.
Which one?
Lakeland Collegiate?
Oh, okay. Check it, okay.
Oh, Wayne, I go to Auburndale.
Okay. What grade you at? Senior,
I'm
right?
a senior.
Okay.
My name is Brian. I go to Lake Region and I'm a senior.
Okay.
My name's Brina. I go to Kathleen and I'm a 10th grader.
I was hoping that there was a Kathleen student here.
No, I'm from the aerospace branch, but yes.
It does not matter. You can't differentiate. You can't say that because CFA is no better than the regular campus. But okay. You probably didn't go to the game last night. Okay. Cancel that.
They lost.
Did you bet the game?
No, but I know the result.
Okay.
We lost before that, so it didn't matter.
That is not even the part I'm talking about. I don't even know who won.
Barta.
Do y'all know Barta
Barta
won?
did.
Did y'all see what happened after the game?
Yeah, there was a fight.
No way.
You didn't see
I
that?
never would have guessed.
Really?
Wouldn't have guessed it.
I knew. It was a fight after school too. So I think that probably led to it. I don't know. It was just crazy. It was just embarrassing and crazy. Okay.
Oh, my name's Jay, and I go to Women's Number 11.
Okay. Jay, do you know Wayne? No? Okay, I'm just asking. Okay. I know y'all know each other. Do y'all know David over there? All right. So, how many of you have taken the test before? Okay, 1, 2, 3. So, tell me what was the problem for you in taking the test? The whole test?
Time.
Is that for all sections or just certain sections?
Reading more than anything.
Alright. So I think with reading, it's almost like that State Farm commercial, where the guy says you gotta be quicker than that.
Yeah.
That's just basically what it is. Yeah, but we'll go through all of that. Alright, Wayne, what was your problem?
The time too.
I would say I agree with the time, and I also think that it could have been like a personal thing because I didn't get my sleep the night before.
Oh,
I was tired and I didn't eat breakfast, so I'm telling you.
that's a problem. That's a real problem. Hungry? Yeah, you didn't get enough rest. That's a problem. Okay. So the rest of you guys have not taken the test? No. Okay. Have you heard about the test? Okay. What have you heard?
Well, my teacher, my memory card teacher, she told me that I gotta take it this year.
Okay.
That's all I'm
Okay, and what grade are you in again?
doing.
No. Have you passed the FSA?
The other one, I'm taking it this year.
Okay, what about the reading part?
I hope it
Should have. Should take it in 10th grade, I think that's it? Yeah, take it last year probably. Okay, all right, cool. So tell me why you're here.
I guess you say someone wants to be very prepared. And my ultimate goal is to try to go in college on 100% by features. That's the goal. So,
Awesome, good job. Okay. All right, Sita. So we're gonna be like talking back and forth. It's not just gonna be me, it's gonna be Drier too. So, I'll cover the math section, he'll cover the, no, dang, heck no. I'll
I'm
cover
out.
the reading section. Oh no. I'll cover reading section, he'll cover the math for you. So we'll both give you some strategies, tips, and tricks on how you can get through this and not panic. And the biggest thing is, like, if we're taking a test, I think, to me, is going in prepared, knowing what you're getting ready to go into. So I look at it as like going to a new restaurant. You don't know what's on the menu, so what do? You go and you Google before you go to that restaurant and see what they have on the menu. So just consider this as you're Googling to see what's on the test so that you can prepare for the test, okay? So for those of you that have never taken the test, look at this as you Googling it just to see what's on the test so that you can be better prepared for the test, okay? All right, Drier, you wanna come up?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Did everybody grab one of these sheets? The white sheets? That's, I want to walk you through a little bit about what you see, okay? Because ultimately, as you do this today and tomorrow, your why might be different than everybody else's why. Why you're here, right? It's generally going to fall into one or two categories. Graduation, bright futures, right? If you've already been accepted and your parents are like majorly loaded, you just say, hey, mom, dad, you paid for it. And they go, sounds great, son. Love you, daughter. And then they write a check. If not, then we got to pay for it. Somebody's got to pay for you to go to school. Okay? Do know this. Your effort to go to college is worth it. I looked at it last night. A student who goes to college is going to make, on average, about $665,000 more over their lifetime than someone who gets a high school degree.
Okay, yes, okay.
$665,000. Now, does that mean that you can't make a lot of money being, getting a high school degree? Bill Gates did a really good job of it. Right? Like Bill Gates dropped out of college, was like, you know what, this whole college thing is not for me. Worked out okay for him. $665,000 is what we're looking at. Okay? I'm a numbers guy. I'm not a thrill guy. I don't give you graphics and gold stars and all that kind of stuff. I'm a numbers guy. So let me break down some numbers for you, okay? To get bright futures, there's two levels. Everybody probably knows that. There's top tier, full tuition, $300 towards your books every semester. Full tuition, a couple $100 a semester hour, or credit hour. There's 75%, okay? And then there's this deal. Look, I'm trying to graduate, and I'll deal with college at a different time, but right now I just need to get my scores and get out. what you need to know to get 75% bright futures is you must get a 25 on the ACT. 25. What does that mean? For 75% bright futures, 25 means your sum of your 4 scores has to equal 100. Hell with the average. It's got to be 100. When you add up all 4 of your scores, English, reading, math, science, those 4 numbers have to add up to be 100. If they do, you just count yourself. I calculated it last night, $19,200. If you can get 100 points. Is that fair? If you get 116 points, you get full bright futures, full tuition, $300 a semester for books. That's $28,560. And let me just say this, baby, that's not a loan. That's not a, I got to pay it back after I get done and get a job. That's Florida Bright Futures going, thank you people who play the lottery, and we're going to give you money. You don't pay it back, you walk out, deuces. What else matters? Once you get that kind of score, your school that you go to will often match that through what's called a merit scholarship. And so while they might give you $5,000 to go to USF, USF may go, gosh, you're a real good student, we'll tack on another $4,000. Okay? And that's why you're here. Now the problem is, for most people, okay, you got to get 25. You take the reading test, you got to get 25. What the F does that mean? I broke it down for you. In order for you to get a 25 on the reading test, there's 40 questions, and she's going to talk about it. But in order for you to get a 25, you functionally have to get 30 correct. There's 40 questions, you got to get 30 correct. You get 30 out of 40, you got a 25. Does that make sense? Now, you're going to get some correct by closing your eyes and just putting B the whole time. Does that make sense? Like, just close your eyes, put B down the whole damn page, be done in 2 minutes and call it good. And you're going to get some of them right. You're not going to miss them all. Right? So functionally, what does that mean for you? In order to get 30 correct, you need to be able to get 28 correct on your own. If you can get 28 correct on your own, where you read the question and go, oh, I know this one. Check. I know this one. Check. You get 28 right, guess on the rest of them, just put B down the whole page, you probably got 25. Does that make sense? And now you're a step closer. Okay? If we're talking about graduating, out of 40 questions, I need you confident on 17. And that will get you the score you need. I need you to be able to find, out of those 40, find 17 that you can look at and go, I'm reasonably sure these are right. Put B's down the rest of the page, and go get your diploma. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
In math, to pass the EOC math, and it's a bitch. She told you I didn't have a very good mouth.
I told y'all, I tried to run.
I'm sorry, babe. Go to church for me tomorrow and just give extra.
Right.
There's 60 questions. To pass the EOC math, I essentially need you to know how to do 10. I need you to look at those 60 and find 10 of them that you can work. Just out of the 60, give me 10. If you want to get bright futures, out of that 60, find me 38. That's less than half. I mean, that's not less than half. It's a little more than half. Right? 38 out of 60, it's a little more than half. Just go in there and find me 38 that you can work, that you feel good about. Put B's for all the other ones. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Your goal is to get 100 points to get 75%. Your goal is to get 116 points to get 100% bright futures. Okay? Our goal today, Vaughn's and my goal today, is to help you get and check numbers off that list. When we say to you, hey Skip, I need you to get 38 questions correct, my goal today and tomorrow is to help you find 38 problems that you can look at and go, I know that one. I know this one. I know this one.
And what was reading?
Reading to get 75% is 28.
28.
28 questions.
Out of 40.
Out of 40. They just need to be able to look at it and go, I'm sure, put a check on this one. I got this one right. I need you to do that 28 times. Okay? Everybody good? Let's get after it.
Gonna start with me.
We're on bottom. Let me go sit down.
What?
You're good.
All right. All right, so guys, so let's look at the blue sheet. I need that. Hold on. All right. So, first of all, how many of you actually read? When I say read, I mean like read without doing, I'm not talking about assigned reading. Pleasure, you read, okay? Text messages don't count. Okay, so just know that. For the rest of you that don't read, you got to start. Even if it's just for this test, you've got to start somewhere. Because in order to understand what you're reading, you got to know how to read. And just looking at words, reciting them, that's not reading. You need reading comprehension. You need to understand what you're reading. Now, like David said, you only have, he said it was timing. So you have like 35 minutes for 40 questions. Simple math. How many minutes should you take on each? You have 4 passages. How many minutes should you take on each passage? Simple math. 8. 8 times 4 is 32, and that's going to give you 3 minutes to spare. So that's what you're working with. That's the timing that you're working with. Can you read 4 passages and answer 40 questions in 35 minutes? Probably not. Especially if you don't read. You're going to be struggling. You're going to be slow. Just going to be honest. You're going to be slow. And you're going to be stuck. Right? So what I'm going to show you today is we're going to go through these tips, and then we're going to go through a passage, and then we're going to show you how to identify the questions, the types of questions. Once you know what you're going into, it'll be easier for you. You'll know how to handle it. You'll know how to attack it. He's a player. You play sports? Sports? Okay. And girls, y'all play sports? Perfect. What do you play?
I do it looking.
Wait, whoa.
I know, I don't look like it.
That's okay, okay. So, athletes, when you know how your opponent plays, if you know who's the good guy or who's the best person you need to watch, that's what you do, you attack that person. So, when you know what's on this test, you'll know how to attack it. That's the main thing, all right? So, let's look at these tips. If you have any questions, please ask me. Feel free, don't be shy. All right, I'm not doing all the reading. Guess what? Because I read all the time. So, first passage, first 2 paragraphs. Somebody read those for me.
Tip number 1, know the structure of the test. The ACT reading test is a 35-minute reading section that starts immediately after a 15-minute break. Use this to your advantage by using your break to relax. There are 4 ACT reading passages that have 10 questions each, which equals a total of 40 multiple choice questions that each have 4 answer choices. There are 4 different passage types that are always in the same order: prose fiction, social studies, humanities, and natural sciences. You can do the passages in any order, but start with your strongest passage type and work from there.
Does that make sense to you in any manner? So, you have 4 passages: prose, social studies or social science, humanities, natural science. That's the reading section. You have to stay within the reading section when you're taking the test. Now, it doesn't matter which passage you start with, as long as you stay in the reading section. So if you are a science whiz and you know you love science, start with the science passage. However, if you start with the science passage, the first question in the science is going to start with number 31. So on your answer sheet, you need to make sure you're marking number 31. Because if you don't, you're going to be screwed up. Top and screwed. All right? This sucks, and I'll be honest with you. The structure of the test is English, math, reading, and science. So reading comes after you've been challenged with all that crazy math. You're tired. When they give you that 15-minute break, get up, Get out of the testing room, walk around, clear your head, because you're gonna need all your energy and stamina to read these 4 passages. And it kind of sucks, I hate it, because when I thought about it, I was like, damn, I will be tired. You're ready to go home, but you still have to read this. And this is like one of the most critical parts, especially for graduation. So I think they kind of like jack them now. So you gotta be quicker than them, you gotta be smarter than them, and just be prepared. Make sure you eat breakfast. Don't eat a big breakfast that you know, like pancakes. I can eat pancakes, and by 10:30, 11, I'm sleepy. I'm ready to lay down, right? Don't do that. Eat something that's gonna give you energy. Energy bar, some type of drink. I wouldn't say sweet tea, because sweet tea, all that sugar makes you sleepy. But be healthy, think about it, be wise, all right? Number 2. Anybody?
The ACT is an open book test. On testing, you will encounter 4 very different passage types: prose fiction, science, social studies, humanities, history and fine art, and natural science. 1 or 2 passages could be unfamiliar to you. Don't get discouraged though. You don't need any outside knowledge to answer ACT reading questions. They're all based on the passage in front of you.
All right, so the 3rd page of your blue sheet gives you an example of the passage, and it tells you what you can expect and what's covered. All right, so all of this is packaged yours to keep. So every one of your answers is in the test. There you have 10 questions per passage. Every one of the answers to those 10 questions is in the test. Now, you have a book. It's like a test booklet. Can you go back and look in the passage? Heck yeah, that's your book. Can you write in the book? Yes, it's yours. So as you're reading and you're taking notes and underlining, that's cool. They're not going to penalize you for that. Please do. But if you're taking notes, you can't write 4 or 5 lines because you're wasting time. If you want to underline, know how to underline. You can't underline everything. What's important? You can underline 3 whole sentences. You can only highlight, underline, circle, put a box around the important things. Okay? All right, let's go to number 3. Wayne.
On first page,
Mm-hmm.
read the passage and write short notes next to each paragraph. Focus on the topic and purpose of the passage. Keep track of different people and opinions. Read the question and identify helpful hints. Line references and keywords can help you find the answer. Predict an answer before you look at the answer choices.
Okay. Notice it says, read the passage and write short notes. Short notes, I'm talking 2 to 3 words. You can maybe just write 1 word. And that's just, when you read the passage or skim the passage, what was the main idea of that passage? Write that to the left. So that when you start answering questions and they have a question about that, you know where to come. You don't have to look all up, scan the entire passage. Focus on the topic and the purpose of the passage. What are they telling you? Every passage has a different purpose. You have prose, that's a story. You're going to have characters, you're going to have setting. Social science is going to tell you something about like psychology or sociology. Humanities is going to tell you about the arts or music. Natural science is just natural science. Chemistry, biology, all of that. Okay. Keep track of different people and opinions. In the passages, so you have prose fiction, you're going to have characters. Pay attention to the characters. Pay attention to their relationship with each other. So let's just say there's a passage about 2 sisters. Okay, so one is good, one is bad. Pay attention to who is good, who is bad, and how they interact with each other. Different opinions. So let's just say in natural science, you may have 2 scientists. They may be talking about 2 scientists. So what did scientist 1 believe? What was his theory? And what about scientist number 2? You have to know the difference between them. Okay? Line references and keywords can help you find the answer. So these are clutch. These are the questions you should answer first when you're going through the passage. So what happens is, I always advise, look at the questions first. Read the question, but don't read the answer choices. Because when you read the question, you know what you're looking for as you're reading. When you go to the question, then if it says, I'm going to find one real quick. as it is used in line 9, the word sweet most nearly means, okay? As it is used in line 9. So what they want you to do, basically, you're gonna go to line 8 first, and you're gonna start reading line 8, 9, and 10, and you're gonna give them the meaning of the word like it's used in the sentence. So you can't just look and say sweet, and then you're looking for an action, a definition of action. They're not talking about this kind of sweet. What are they talking about? How do they use it in line 9? Those are the types of questions you're gonna go to first. You're gonna answer those first because they're basically telling you where the answer is. So use that to your advantage. All right, tip number 4, David.
Always read the passage first. It is a common myth that you should read the questions first. It is almost impossible to remember to look for the answer to 10 different questions while reading an unfamiliar passage containing 750 words and trying to synthesize the big ideas. A much better use of your time is to read the passage and grasp the main idea and purpose before even glancing at the questions.
Okay, so here's that first sentence. It is a common myth that you should read the questions first. You're reading the questions to find the key words. Some people read the question and then they go back to find the answer. Well, if the question is an inference question, how can you find the answer without reading it? So you're looking for the key words in the questions, all right? Every paragraph, of course, we all know this from 3rd grade, every paragraph has a main idea. And everything that paragraph consists of is considered your details, right? We all know that, 3rd grade. That is the majority of the test. Those types of questions are the majority of the test. So basically what you need to be able to do is identify key ideas and details. That is where the majority of your questions come from. If you know how to master that, if you know how to find those key ideas and details, you've pretty much conquered the test. That's the main thing. But as we go through, I have a passage in here and it tells you, I put on the side what type of question it is, so you'll know the type of question. All right, tip number 5, Jay.
The line tries to account for a reason, so use them and don't need to read around the line sense first to difference in concept. If a question like line 12, for example, read line 10 through 13, the correct answer is always possible in the passage.
Okay, same thing I just said. If it has a line number by it, go to that one first. Read the questions, read the sentences around it for context, pretty much. Line references, go and find those, and if you have those in your passage, answer those first. All right, number 6, Michaela.
This is eliminate incorrect answer choices. There will always be answers to eliminate, so look for them. Sometimes just one word makes an entire answer choice wrong. Find the flaw in the answer choice and drop it off.
If you get rid of the crazy ones first, that gives you, now you only have you have a greater chance of getting the correct one. Because now you have 2 out of 4, 3 out of 4, instead of 4 out of 4. So when you look at your answers, don't move so fast. Read your answer choices carefully. However, when you read the question, think in your mind, think of your own answer. And if your answer is comparable to one of the answer choices, rock with that one. Number 7, Arian?
It's like Cameron, but without the C.
Okay, Amber.
So find support. Always choose the best answer choice based on support in the passage, not the one you think sounds most intelligent. You must find textual evidence supporting the right answer. The correct answer will be followed.
Okay, this is details. This is where your details come in. Key ideas and details. So whatever your key idea is, you have to have details to support it. So find the support for the main idea of your paragraph. All right, number 8, Don.
ACT reads number 8. Know how the test is scored. There is no wrong answer penalty, so make sure you answer every question, even if you do not eliminate any answer choices or if you run out of time. Have a pre-specified letter of the day, like A or F or B and G, to fill in automatically, so you don't spend extra time deciding which answer choice you want to vote in.
Okay. This, Drier, here's your letter of the day.
It's important.
So, here's the deal. On the reading test, when the proctor tells you you have, let's just say 2 minutes left, if you are on your last passage and you are on number 4, whatever your letter of the day is, whatever letter you choose, A or F, they said A or F because that's like the first or the second one. No, the first one, first choice in each section, for each question. So if you chose A or F, you go down and you bubble in A or F. The reason for that is because you don't want to leave any questions blank. You get points for every correct answer. So let's just say you had a good day, today was your lucky day, and the answer choices that you chose were correct, then you're good. Never leave anything blank. When they tell you you have 2 minutes left and you know you have blank questions you haven't gotten to, start bubbling in. Choose your answer of your letter of the day. A, F. The answer choices, and we were talking about this, is A, B, C, D, F, G, H, J. However you're feeling, whatever you want to choose, but make sure you choose a letter, don't leave any blank. Number 9, the ACT reading comprehension question types. You have global questions. It asks about the passage as a whole. Know what you're reading. For each test, and you'll see it in the example that I've given you, there's a blurb that tells you you're reading literary narrative, and it'll tell you where that story comes from. Read that, because that gives you some type of background as to what you're getting ready to read. Inference and writer's view questions ask you to understand something that isn't directly stated in the passage. So we all know what inference is, or infer. You use what's in the passage along with what you know. Detailed questions ask about specific parts of the passage. If you would, put a check or an asterisk by that, because detailed questions are very important, and I'll show you why. Vocab and context, that's the line number. That's where they ask you in line 9, this word most, how it is used. This word is used as what, and it gives you an example. Function questions ask about the purpose of a specific part of the passage. Why did the author write this? The author chose this because why? So you need to know his purpose, okay?
Do you have a suggested order in how to answer those questions?
Which
and
one?
like the types of questions? So, like, would you suggest doing maybe vocabulary and text contextual first, and then like inference last?
So I would say the vocab questions, do those first. Because those are your line number questions. Do those first. Your key ideas and details, I would do those second. Because that means you have a broader awareness of the passage. And then the inference, you can go through those. Yeah.
Hey, Ron, make sure you repeat the question.
Okay,
So
thank
the
you.
people listening will be able to.
Okay, thank you. All right. So she asked if I suggested a way in which you should answer questions. And so my response was, answer the questions like the vocab and context, those are going to be your line number questions. So you want to answer those first. And then any key ideas and details, answer those second, because that means you have a greater awareness of the passage, and then your inference question should come last like that. But whatever is comfortable for you, okay? Know the ACT reading comprehension trap answers, guys. This is everywhere. This is standard. They have trap questions everywhere, okay? So a distortion twists details from the passage so that they are no longer correct. That's why you have to read your answer choices carefully. Misuse detail, a true statement from the passage, but one that doesn't answer the question. It may be true, it's good, but not for that question. Maybe for another question, but not for this one. Out of scope, something that's so far-fetched, it's not even included in the passage. Extreme, and we know about these. Words, the questions that use always, never, best, worst. Never, watch out for those. And the opposite question contradicts the information in the passage. Okay? So what's on the ACT reading test? John told us. Prose fiction, social science, humanities, natural science. Now let me ask you this. looking at those types of reading passages, I want you to put in order or sequence the order in which you feel you would like to read, you would answer your question. So do you like prose fiction better? Do you like social science, humanities, or natural science? It's up to you. So that's on you. Just go ahead and number those for yourself. Sorry, when I hit this last page,
Yeah,
then you can like give them the intro of the math part. Tell them what
Sure.
the math part is. Okay. How to tackle the ACT reading test. So, and I'm just gonna skim this. I'm not, because you guys can read, I know you can. I'm not gonna read this verbatim. So, now that you know what's on the test, I'm gonna give you 6 reading strategies that will help you approach any passage. So, number 1, choose your own adventure. That's why I had you choose to put them in order. Which passage do you think you're gonna enjoy reading the most? Because if you're hyped about it and you think you're gonna enjoy it, you're gonna give it more energy. And you have a better chance of answering more correct questions, okay? Get plenty of practice. Okay, the best way to determine which categories you tend to ace is through repeated practice tests. So once we take a test, we're gonna take that, we'll do tests tomorrow. It kind of give you an idea, okay, you know what? I suck at math, at science, so I'm gonna do that one last. But I do really good at prose, I'm gonna do that one first. All right, determine which ones you do better in. Now, I will tell you, science, the words are like 27 characters long. Do not sit there and try to figure out how to pronounce that word. Why? Nobody listens to you read. Give it a nickname and keep it moving. Now they say read the questions first. Duh. Reading actively means knowing in advance what you're going to read. So it's already in your head. And as you're reading, guys, we should all be active readers, because if you're not an active reader, meaning that you're not asking questions and predicting, then you're reading, you're like this. No, we don't want that. As you're reading, you're asking yourself questions. You're predicting. That's giving you a purpose for reading. All right, keep moving. If you read something you don't understand, do not reread it. Keep going. You don't have time. Look for transition words, or like road signs. They're going to tell you if they're going to switch. And we know what transitions are. It's the writer's way of helping you move from one idea or one point to the next. And don't panic if you don't know the word. I just said it. Whether it's in prose or natural science, if you don't understand that word, if you can't pronounce it, keep it moving. However, if you read everything in the passage, you will know the meaning of it. You may not know how to pronounce it, but we want you to know the meaning of it. Comprehension. That's the biggest thing. Okay, go to the 3rd page. And this chart tells you the type of passage, what's covered in the passage, and what you can expect. Okay? So I'm going to give you like 2 minutes to read over that. And then go ahead and sequence them again. Now that you know what's on the passage, does it still line up with the order in which you will read your passage? All right? I'm going to give you 2 minutes for that, and then drier will come over. Your mom wants to jump in. It kind of hit me. I was like, no, that's Lisa's son. He's the father. Should have this for the last basketball game. Remember that? When you have an email address?
I do.
I put it in there, so I didn't sign it up for one.
Hmm?
I saw it was the one he typed it in, I didn't give him one.
Okay. Awesome. Does anyone have any questions on anything I've gone over so far in the reading section?
So you asked earlier, like, to choose a question or a letter for the day, right? And
Mhm.
so is there a better one to use for the ACT?
So I haven't, research hasn't given us a better one. Yes, Steve.
I'll answer it.
Steve.
No, it's not.
Oh, thank you.
So this is extremely important. The question was, is there a better, back in the day when they used to have this book called Where There's a Will, There's a Way, right? There's a book that was called Where There's a Will, There's an A. And where there's a will, where there's an A, popularized this notion that is, if you're in doubt, pick C, because C shows up more than anything. Okay? What's important about the ACT is that the answer choices are totally random by the computer, right? And like on the math test, they always come in order from either highest to lowest or lowest to highest. It's always one of those. Like you'll never see A, B, X equals 5, B, X equals 12, C, X equals -2. It will always put them in order, one way or the other, okay? So there is no best choice. And what I will tell you is because the ACT is completely randomized by a computer, the answer choices follow basically in statistical terms what's called a continuous distribution, meaning that each one of them will basically occur about the same amount of time. So as a statistician, what I will tell you is you're better off just going with a set letter or position, because the letters kind of change, A, F, whatever it is, and just say, okay, I'm going to go, just whenever I don't have a clue, I'm putting that letter every time. What you'll see is a lot of people will jump around, right? They like, oh, well, I put A last time, I'll put D this time. I put D last time, I'll put B this time. Don't do that. So, and I've done this in classes to explain it to students. What you're looking for is, you need to get, based on the numbers that I ran for you, you need to be able to get the percentage right by guessing that you expect to get. And when you jump around, you tend to either overshoot that or undershoot that. If you just stick with one letter, you're much more likely to just get that number that you need. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So just, if you don't have a clue, put the same answer every single time.
Is that for math?
All.
Okay, so if you're going to use A,
Oh,
you need to use
but by
F.
section, I don't think it makes any difference. But yeah, I would just.
Okay, so if you use A, use F. Is that what you're
Yes, yes.
Mhm. If you use B, then
Use G.
So I
Yes.
guess it's position.
Yes, by
Use the same
position.
position, either the first, second, third, or fourth one.
Now, in math, they have A, B, C, D, E. So math is the only section that has 5 choices, not 4. The other 3 sections all have 4 choices.
Okay, okay.
So when I tell you to choose the same one for every one, I don't mean choose E, because for the first 3 sections, it won't be an option. But in that particular section, I would say pick a position, and whenever you're in doubt, just fill in that position.
So if things differ, remember I'm looking at it from a reading perspective, and he's looking at it from a math perspective and statistically. A statistician, a smart nerd position. Okay.
But please don't jump around. Like, that's the biggest thing you can do wrong, is just start randomly it gives you a better chance to get a higher score that way, but it also gives you a much better chance to get a lower score as well.
All right.
Yeah.
We good?
I'm good with that question, yeah.
All right. It's on you.
It's on me?
Tell us about the math one. Or the math test.
So the math test is going to be, it's 60 questions, but all questions are not graded equal. All right? So, in essence, you have pre-algebra. Now, the terms that they use is, don't get hung up on. As you go to college, let me just offer this some free advice. If you get to a course and the course says introductory or elementary, get scared. All right? Because the higher you go, the more scared you should get when you read elementary. And if you get to college and your book is about this thin, you're really in for it then. Because that means they don't need a whole lot of pages to torture you for 16 weeks. Okay? So, pre-algebra, is going to have essentially 14 questions every single time. Right? Every time. It's just how they make it. They make it so that pre-algebra covers 14 questions. Geometry is the other big one. It's also 14 questions. Now, ironically, in pre-algebra, which I think is pretty crappy, they also include statistics. And their statistics questions are usually kind of a pain in the ass, because you got to know how to attack them. Okay? So while it's kind of referred to as pre-algebra, they say mean and median is stuff that you would have done in 5th grade. If you're from Haines City, maybe 11th grade. Lakeland, I don't even know. You might not even do it. But seriously though, they call that mean, median, mode stuff pre-algebra. Although I would tell you, I think it's a lot higher than that. Then kind of elementary algebra would be next, and that is 10. And then what they refer to as intermediate algebra, which I would call more college algebra, is 9. Coordinate geometry is 9. And trig is 4. Now, understand this. Some of you have never taken trig. But the trig questions they ask, we can actually teach you in a day. Like the trig questions aren't terribly hard if you know what you're looking at. So the ACT is used to distinguish students. We have to understand that. Okay, it's meant to distinguish who's going to get $20,000 and who's going to get 12, and who's going to get nothing. And they have to do it with pre-algebra, elementary algebra, stuff that would seem on some level to be relatively easy. And they give you a calculator. I don't know, some of you will be taking it, are you taking it in school? Like next week or 2 weeks? Will they give you a calculator or you got to take your own?
No, they give it to me.
Okay. What I would like for you to do tomorrow when we come back is bring a calculator with you that you're going to use. Now, what kind can you use? You can use a TI-83 or an 84 as long as you've cleared the memory. If you know how to use it, that's fine, bring it with you. And I'll show you some tricks on how to use that to help you get through some of the questions. I recommend the TI-30X. That has more of a display that you can type into, and it's not, so a standard calculator that you might be familiar with, if you need to do 8 times 5, you hit 8, it puts an 8 up there. When you hit times, it doesn't do anything. It just shows you the 8. And then when you hit 5, it replaces the 8 with the 5, and when you hit equals, it'll replace the 5 with the 40. The one I'd like for you to use is the TI-30X, because when you use that one at the cross at the top, it will write it out 8 times 5 and show you the display. And when you hit enter, it'll just put 40 like as the answer. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I think it's easier, this is more useful to you as we go through some of the problems that you're going to see, where I can say, hey, look, because you a video game player? No? It's okay to say you are. Are you a video game player, honey?
Not really.
So, are you? Yeah, you definitely are. You go to aerospace.
I only play The Sims.
Okay. If you ever played a game like Pac-Man or Asteroids or, I don't even know if Grand Theft Auto keeps score, but if you've ever played a video game, your ultimate goal is just to get a high score, right? Like, people are like, oh, you're cheating. You know what? I'm beating you. The ultimate goal is to get a high score. On the ACT, the ultimate goal is to get a high score. Like, how you go about getting said high score, I hate to say it, doesn't really matter. If you use a calculator to get the answer, and then you pick that choice off, no one gives a shit. No one goes back like, well, you know what, you didn't actually do the problem. You cheated. Give me my money. Okay? So these are the ones I recommend. What you're going to notice is as you progress through these, the complexity level starts getting a little bit less. Okay? Meaning the trig questions that you see, if you know trig, aren't that complicated. Because they realize most people don't know it anyway, so we don't need to make it all that complicated, because most people only know what they're looking at anyway. The pre-algebra questions are ridiculously complicated. Like, they wouldn't just go, hey, what's 1/2 plus 1/3 plus 1/4? Like, they would never do that. I mean, it's just not what they do. But what they do is stupid stuff like this. Where they draw a square like this. And they'll say, you know, what portion of the square is made up by block A? Which is essentially adding fractions, which is essentially, you can do it on your calculator if you know how to do it, and you know what you're looking at. But they won't just say, you know, what's 1/2 plus 1/3 plus 1/4 times 1/3. They won't do that. They make it very complicated looking. And then you sit there and go, I don't have a freaking clue. What's my letter of the day? A. Does that make sense? Because unlike some tests, the ACT, and I've looked at a lot of ACT questions, it's not always really easy to look at the choices and go, oh, wait, let's see. That's -15, this is 15, it's probably one of those two. It's not always quite that easy. Like, they do a really good job of hiding the distractors to make you not be able to just immediately identify, oh, this is a distractor, this one's not. Okay? So, you know, what are we talking about? If you're here for graduation, I need you to find 10. Preferably 15. Does that make sense? Now, there's some that you can guarantee. If you take the SAT this week, next week, in April, in June, July, November, and you don't have a triangle, you can have your money back. There's no way you take the ACT and it doesn't involve some sort of ABC right triangle. It's on every single one. Factoring is on every single one. Like, there's going to be a question involving factoring. The problem is it won't just be like, you know, here, x squared minus 4, how do you factor that? No, hell, they'll make it into a word problem of some sort. And then you have to read it and go, oh, I just need to factor this. Okay. So, I wanted to give you, because like I said, I'm a numbers guy. Okay? And for me, going into it, I just want to know how many do I have to get and where am I most likely to get them. We're talking 60 questions, 60 minutes. Okay? Now again, what are we talking about? That's one problem per minute. A minute is a really long time for a problem you know how to do. Right? If I said, what's 8 times 2 plus 3, and you know the order of operations, you just get the answer. If you have this kind of calculator, you don't even need to know the order of operations. You just type that thing in there and hit enter. Is that fair? You don't need a minute for that. But here's the problem. If I tell you that this angle's theta, this is 4, this is 7, and say what's cosine theta, hell, you can look at it for 45 minutes. And it ain't going to matter. Does that make sense? So when you get to a problem like you just don't know how to do it, you just skip it, leave it blank, and then right before time is up, go back with whatever letter you've chosen, or whatever position you've chosen. Does that make sense? But again, what you need to focus on is whether you're Bright Futures, whether you're whatever you are, I've given you the number that you have to try to get to. And that's what you need to spend your time working towards. How do I get to that number? Okay? I tell students all the time, you maximize your score by getting the ones you know correct, not by getting the ones you don't know correct. And it seems so simple. You maximize your score by getting the ones you know correct, not by getting the ones you don't know correct. The ones you don't know, you just got to get lucky. It is what it is. You just got to get lucky. Get the ones you know. Kind of have an idea, and we've given you a practice test, and the answers are on the back. You can kind of go through. My suggestion is, read the question. If you have an idea, go through it and try it. If you don't have an idea, you skip it. I skip it with one of two things. Either a question mark or an X. Just right next to the problem. X, question mark. Question mark means I think I got a chance. If I have time, I'll come back. X means I'm probably going to have to guess on this one. I just want so desperately for you to understand. You're going to have some X's. David, you're going to have some X's. All right? What's the highest math class you're taking, David?
I'm going to pre-calc.
You're in pre-calc. You should have seen everything you need. You should have seen everything you need. You're going to have some X's. Because you're going to read the question and go, I just don't know how to start. And if I showed you how to do it, you'd go, oh, that's not bad. Like, this isn't that hard. There's 3 pieces. That's the 1/3. A is half of this one, a third of this one, a fourth of this one. It's not hard. But if you don't know how to attack it, it's damn near impossible. Does that make sense? And so I go question mark X. X's are ones I'm not even gonna really come back to unless I just have extra time. But here's the thing: 60 problems, 60 questions. You're not gonna have a lot of time. You won't have a whole lot of time. You'll have enough time to go through and find. We're talking about math. We're trying to get bright futures. You'll have 60 minutes to find 38 you can work. Does that make sense? Now, you got to get 38 in 60 minutes. That's almost 2 minutes a problem. Not quite 2. It's less than 2, but it's more than a minute. Does that make sense? You can focus, you can work on that. Because if you get 38, everything after that's gravy. Okay? And the score, just so you understand, is a scale. So what they'll say is, if you get 41 correct, that's a 25. If you get 43 correct, it's a 26. It's a range of values, then it goes up with each little range. Does that make sense? It's not, if you get 1 right, you get a 1, 2 right, you get a 2. Okay? There's a range of values there. Okay, that say this is the range. And you can find that online. You can find it online. All right?
All right, guys, let's go ahead and take a 15-minute break.
There's Powerade back there. Pastor T at Imprint Ministries brought in some Powerade, some Rice Krispie treats, some chips. Feel free to get a snack.
I'm just gonna move this over here, and whatever you want, open it. If you don't want it.
Mr. Dyer, we have to leave an hour early. So,
It's
just
okay.
at noon, so I was just gonna let you know.
Okay.
It's just one.
So, you'll leave whenever you need to.
sir.
I'm gonna post it's on YouTube.
Sure.
That's me, baby. Oh, that's you.
Oh, that's me.
I'll post the YouTube video. It's on my YouTube channel.
Yes, sir.
Stephen Drier.
Yes, sir.
Steve with PH. And you can watch the last hour.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
All right?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Dave.
Yes, sir.
My capital was 2 days. Hurting. It's mine. We didn't get anybody. You don't know how to use it? You don't either. You don't know how to use that.
Okay, so see how you took the break, and you didn't get up and move? When you take the test, and they give you a break, get up and move. So that you can oxygen to your brain, you're gonna be tight. And I know you're gonna have your phone on, but you should get up and move around, even if you just walk to the door and back. If you get up and move around, because the reading test is gonna take a lot out of it.
I'm gonna sit right here. You're gonna go talk about reading. I think you're doing great. You should maybe get a degree in this or something. Do it for everyone.
We can have
Hey,
your
no, hey.
own math academy.
That day.
Yeah, let's do that. Cool. Cool.
Food. Uh-huh.
Very cool. That's why you
Oh.
Cool. Guys, feel free to get snacks. If it's not open, open it. I just don't want to open what you guys don't want.
Yeah.
And that
And
clear
save
bag
some for
in
tomorrow, just for
Yeah,
the record, because
yeah.
I come back tomorrow.
there- We'll be back tomorrow. And that clear bag in there, that's the trash. I don't know where that's the trash can is.
Yeah, let us respect Coach Leo's space and clean up after ourselves when we leave.
And if you know some friends that need to be here, tell them what it's like, and just tell them come tomorrow, which they will have missed today, but they can come tomorrow.
And if you charge them, just give us 10%.
Right.
You can charge them whatever you want to. Like when your friends, like, hey, it's $50. Look, just throw 5 my way, throw 5 her way, and then you
Right.
can keep the other 40.
That's right.
Capital.
That's right. I was about making it come up.
But, so 11 people signed up.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, these
Brianna,
love you girls.
got it. Okay. Okay. She called. To see.
Yeah, Brianna signed up.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they did. Are y'all Tabitha's daughter?
Yes.
Okay. It's all good. She reached out to me and says, and I told her, like, yeah, there's something to come. Because I knew we weren't going to have, one person told me that she sent me a message and said, we're going to go on Saturday, but can I sign him up and let him come Sunday? And I said, watch the video, sure. Because I ain't trying to repeat everything.
Right, no.
No, you weren't here. That was you.
You missed it. Jocelyn emailed me.
Where's Terry? Wayne, text Terry.
Okay.
Terry Dupree.
Alright.
That's the one that Jocelyn emailed me about.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know his attitude to be here. And I said that on camera, Terry. Love you. Hey, now it is 9 a.m. on Saturday is a whole lot easier to commit to on Thursday.
Right.
He right here.
Hey, Terry. Hey, where are you supposed to be right now? How about the ACT weekend workout? You know you signed up for it, or did Ms. Giles sign you up and not tell you? All right, how quickly can you get here? Say it again. Oh, well then I don't know why you signed up. All right. All right, Terry. Love you, man.
Hey.
You can throw objection next time. You can throw
What?
objection. You can throw objection next time.
What you at, girl? You got signed up for this?
2 weeks after I go to school starts, I gotta find a career writer, because I gotta pay people that do it.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta pay back people that.
Don't we have some other cows that run fast?
You don't know it. But then, do I thought?
Not Vivian. You know Vivian? Vivian Newton.
I said, yeah.
She can do everything. Swear to God.
Listen,
And
very, very. We used to go to church with Trina and we got lost when it was on the Berkeley Road.
Mm-hmm.
There, so yeah, that's how I know her.
Because she's an actress now. That's big. No doubt.
Okay. Listen. Speaking of, I don't know. They like their please in the phone, I believe.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. For sure, they all do.
That's what I'm trying to do.
They all do.
Summer enrichment academy. Summer enrichment camp. That's what I'm doing.
No, for sure they do. Hey, I don't know if she goes. She's like really smart.
She just told me that she thinks she's the best one now. She's the English kid.
I'm sure she got a PhD in that. Yeah. She's real, like I said, and she's
Yes.
she's all about.
You seen it?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I'm not going
I'm
with
so
that.
glad. I'm so super glad. I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Diversity.
Mhm.
That's what I like. Strive myself on. Now, if I can get it to the community, and this thing, person is with me, that I was thinking about General Shaw, Marcus Santiago, her daughter Joanne. She teaches for us. And she's probably gonna get this full-time position in Lakeland.
Oh, she.
Yeah, but she's doing temporary right now. We would like.
But yeah, no, you could.
I am definitely. She better tell you she's like in the grade. I would ask her. She's super sweet.
She's super sweet, crazy smart. Like.
This is my biggest thing. They it's all about location.
What you got? Folks.
These kids probably can't get there. She goes there at 8 now. That's a stretch.
Where's Cody's picture?
I don't know.
See that?
I'm glad you told
What's
me.
that?
See on my phone at him?
Yeah, I saw it. I know, we need to take it in.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'd like to say I can fix it, but we gotta think of that person.
So what he did to it that made him do that?
Well, my gut feeling is he'll tell you it was when you dropped it.
Mm.
They'll blame you for dropping it. We'll blame him for putting the screen on wrong. And then we'll see where we're at.
But you shouldn't say drop it.
It was in like 400 pieces.
The screen?
Yeah.
Where'd y'all go? Who'd you go to?
A place over there on Dundee Road.
Okay.
I've used them before, they did a pretty good job.
How much was it?
$100.
Okay.
It was 91.
400 pieces, 90, cause I cracked mine and they charged me 50, but mine wasn't at 400 pieces. It was like maybe, was it? I could just feel the groove.
Oh.
Crack, I felt the groove when I was trying to scroll. But I could possibly cut myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's 91, that's 90 bucks. Yeah, that's 91 bucks.
But I mean, like fix it and then not make the screen go crazy.
So what do you think,
July 1st.
July 1st.
You ready?
Been already.
Okay. You just ready to get away from guys?
No.
No? Okay.
Well, it's pretty good in my house. I mean, I'm just saying. You know, I mean, Pensacola ain't gonna have exactly the same luxuries. Me too.
Yeah. Cause I had a soccer player that lived up in that area and they had that last hurricane.
Yeah.
And we had to.
The good news is, it's a plane ride or a car ride to come go get it. Yeah, I mean, you don't have a car up there, but, they have an international airport in Pensacola.
Get out.
Well, I think it goes to like Mexico. So now it's international. It's Pensacola International.
I didn't want to be original. Let's make it big.
So I think they go to like Panama or something. I mean, like, they might just cross over the border and the back end might still be in the United States.
I'm so impressed with this. All right, y'all, let's get started on reading. Let's talk about reading again. Coming back. So I've done a lot of talking, but I kind of want to hear from you guys now. Because again, like I said, this is interactive. I know we've just kind of been doing the bulk of the talking, but I want to hear from you guys. So let me know. So who's in a reading class now or lit class? Okay. Yeah. And so what are y'all doing now in the class?
We're writing an essay at the moment. I've got a huge research paper that we're working through. Other than that, we're not doing too much.
Okay, research paper. Okay. Who else? David.
We just turned in an essay and we're reading Lord of the Flies right now.
Okay, so that's lit.
English.
English. Okay. All right. Who else? So you're in intensive reading? And so you guys are working on ACT passages? No FSA passages? Okay. All right. And who's taking the FSA? Yeah.
I'll take it.
Okay, so let me ask David and you, because you've taken the ACT too, right? What's the difference in the FSA and the ACT?
It's just reading.
It's all reading.
Yeah.
What about the questions?
I don't remember. I was sophomore year when I was in
Okay.
I was gonna say that's kind of a hard distinction, but I think it's, I don't know, I think it's mental, but the ACT just seems more demanding than the FSA. I think that's what the pieces.
Okay. Interesting. What about timing? How much did you have on the reading? How much time did you have on the reading for the FSA?
If I can remember correctly, I think it was like, it was more than ACT.
Okay.
I think it was like 2 hours.
2 hours?
It was a good bit of time.
Okay. So the key to the ACT is with the test, you know that your answers are directly in the passage. You can find every answer in the passage. You don't have to think back to what your teacher told you. Everything is right there in the passage, right? So, as with anything else, there's structure, and they form their questions in certain ways. So there's typically like 8 types
of questions. All right, so let's look at this page. I don't know which page. I think it's maybe the 4th page of the blue section. Okay, so it says there are 10 questions dedicated to each of the 4 segments of the test. So segments, they're referring to the different types of passages. Each passage, I'm going to say passage, consists of one long passage or one pair of shorter passages. All 40 questions are multiple choice. So remember, you have 4 tests, which is 4 genres, and each of them have 10 questions following it. So you see 4 bullets. It tells you the name of the passage. You have prose fiction, social studies or social science, humanities, and natural science. And then it gives you a description of what that passage is going to be like. Again, I'm going to give you like a couple minutes to read that so you'll know, because I really want you to know what you're walking into when you take this test. So notice how social studies, they tell you that it's a part of the category discusses anything from anthropology to biography to psychology and sociology, and they call those the soft sciences. And your hard science is your natural science, which is biology, chemistry, and physics. So again, think about which one you like the most, which one you don't like. Okay, so now let's talk about the questions. You'll be asked to complete the following types of questions. Detail, main idea, those go together because we'll talk about it. Key ideas and details, they go together. Okay, compare and contrast, inference, cause and effect, vocabulary and context, author intent and tone. Can anybody tell me what they noticed about this list? Excuse me? What'd you say?
So it's standard.
Standard. Thank you. Standard reading topics or concepts. These are things you learn in the 3rd grade. And you're probably saying, how do you know what I learned in 3rd grade? Because I was a 3rd grade teacher. And so when you remember going to the table in reading groups, you probably had reading group 1, 2, 3, maybe they had them colored or however, but you went to the table and you sat around the table with your teacher and you had a certain book and you talked about, maybe one week you talk about main idea. The next week you talk about sequence of events. Compare and contrast. That's all it is. The concepts of reading never change. Ever. The only thing that changes in reading is the passages, maybe they get longer. The vocabulary is longer. For every long word, there's a short word, vice versa. So that's the only thing that changes. But if you can find the main idea in the 4-page book in 3rd grade, you can find the main idea in a paragraph in 10th, 11th, 12th grade, and so on and so forth. So you have to remember, nothing changes in reading except the passages. They get longer, because it started from a sentence, now it's a whole essay. That's the only thing that changes. Main idea is always a main idea. A detail is always a detail. It's going to support the main idea. All right, so your detail questions. So they ask you to find information in the passage. In the following question, you need to find a specific detail, underline specific detail that was explained in the passage. The question states that it wants one data point that was described in the passage. So they're telling you it was in the passage. And notice it says, as described in the passage, one benefit of the trap jaw ant's escape jump is that it allows an ant to what? So if we were just looking at the question, trying to find the key word in the question, what would you underline? What would you look for? The benefit of the trap jaw ant's escape jump. So for that, when we're looking at questions, you'll underline benefit of escape jump. So now you've underlined it, you're going to remember that when you start reading about that. Okay? All right, let's go to the next question. Main idea questions. So this is pretty much the majority of the test. This type requires you to examine passages globally, that means the whole thing, holistically, to determine the main ideas. The following question refers to the passage as a whole. So when they ask you to refer to the passage as a whole, they're talking like from first paragraph to the last paragraph, everything. And they ask you to characterize its entire arc, everything. We might suppose that the answer is never explicitly stated, but deserves from the sum of the article's many parts. All right, derived, I'm sorry. All right, the passage as a whole can primarily be characterized as the narrator's what? So think about everything the narrator talked about. Not just one thing, not just something that was in paragraph 4. Everything, you look at the whole thing. That is when they talk about the main idea of a passage, the passage as a whole. It has to be, you should be able to identify it in every paragraph and not just one, okay? All right, compare and contrast details. So we know that when you're comparing something, you're looking at how things are the what? Thank you. And when you're talking about contrasting, you're looking at how they are different, okay? So, this is where you'll have passage A, passage B. Okay, so typically when you have a passage, and this is normally, this may come in your social studies or your humanities. So you're going to have passage A, passage B, and then you're going to have questions for passage A. You're going to have questions for passage B, and then you're going to have questions for both. But you're still going to have 10 questions, right? So when you have passage A, passage B, you look at your passage. I would put a box around passage A just to type the heading, and then a box around passage B. This is your reminder that when you finish reading passage A, you need to go answer the questions for passage A. Because it's fresh in your mind. And then when you answer the questions for passage A, you can go back and read passage B and answer the remainder of the questions. Okay? Now, the passage A and passage B will talk about the same topic, but they'll have different views. So, let's just say it's talking about birds. This one may talk about the raven. This one may talk about the eagle. And so they're going to add, and this one may be by James, whoever, and this one may be by Kevin, somebody. And so they're going to ask you. Kevin has his opinion about the ravens. James has his about the eagle. So this is going to ask you about both of them. So this is definitely where that compare and contrast comes in at. Okay? And then this type of passage also covers another type of a section, and I'll tell you, we'll cover that. Inference questions on the next page. So I always look at inference questions as you're asking yourself or the person, So what are you really trying to say? So what are you really saying? You're saying it without saying it. So these are quick, tricky questions. They ask you to identify the logic underlying a claim or extend the implication of a statement. For instance, in the following question, you're asked to describe what the author implies, underline implies, about what people commonly assume. And so when you look at the question, it says the author most strongly implies that people commonly assume the deepest waters of an ocean are what? So implies, I would underline implies, people commonly assume. What is it that they commonly assume? So then again, when you're reading, when you go to your passage and you start reading, you're looking like, okay, I remember that. Okay, this could be it. Cause and effect. These are specific types of inference questions that require you to analyze cause and effect and sequence of events. Pay attention to this when you're reading your science passages. Science passage and your social science. You should understand what happened when and which event caused what. Following questions ask you about why the trap-jaw ant has developed the characteristics it possesses today. For example, what happened originally to cause this new development in turn. Okay? So one main purpose of the last paragraph, so you know you're going to find this answer in the last paragraph, I would underline that, is to suggest that unlike their bounce or defense jump, the trap-jaw ant's escape jump may have arisen through what? So there again, we're looking for the escape jump of the trap-jaw ant. Vocab and context. These are your line questions. I will put a star by that and put easy question. Go to first. These questions point you toward a specific instance of a word or phrase within the text, then ask you to offer a rough definition, underline this, based on its use in context. So for this one, as it is used in line 9, the word sweep. So there you know to go straight to line 8. Read line 8 through 10, and what does it most nearly mean? They're not going to ask you for the specific definition, but what does it most nearly mean, like the closest definition? Dave, you got a question?
No.
Okay. Author intent and tone. So you'll be asked to draw conclusions about what the author's voice, and method. You should be able to explain the author's view of and attitude toward the topic. And you should also be able to identify why the author made certain salient choices. For instance, the following questions ask about the author's attitude and offers various descriptions of possible viewpoints in the answer choices. The author's attitude toward the main subject of a passage can best be described as what? So, here's the deal. You can kind of read how a person feels about something by the way they look or the way they talk about it. So for me, I like sports. But my favorite sport is football. So I'm going to talk a lot about football. I'm going to talk it up. I'm going to say all the good things about football and how I love to see the men in the tight pants and all that stuff, you know, and how fast they run and my favorite position is such and all that. But at the same time, when I talk about basketball, I don't have a whole lot of love for basketball. It's all right, decent sport, but I just don't have a whole lot of love for it. So right there, you know I'm not going to be real favorable of basketball. So if the passage asks you my attitude toward basketball, it's negative. But it's based on the words that I use. It's based on how I presented the information to you. Now, football, I'm going to amp it up. I'm going to give you like 100 things. Basketball, I might just give you 50. Then I might give you some negative points about it. But I may never say anything negative about football, although there are some negative things about it. I may never say anything about it. So you can tell my attitude and my tone will come from the words that I use. So the key there is knowing like emotions and words, how a person feels about something. Because think about it, when your mom's mad, she yells, right? But when everything is good, she's like, oh, hey, how are you? As opposed to, what's she doing? Okay? Tone. All right, let's go to the next page. This is most important to me. And so this is where Drier may come in and chime in and help me out because there's some numbers here and, I know the basics of the numbers. So when you get your score report, you have 3 categories. And if you've already taken the test, you want to pay attention to your score report. The 3 categories are key ideas and details, craft and structure, integration of knowledge and ideas. It's on your paper. Looking at the percentages, what do you notice?
Over half of it is key ideas and details.
Thank you. Over half of your test is key ideas and details. So now you have to figure out how to identify those types of questions, right? The description says this category requires you to read text closely to determine the central idea and theme. Central idea, main idea, all of that is the same thing. Central theme, same thing. Summarize information and ideas accurately. Understand relationships and draw logical inferences and conclusions, including understanding sequential, comparative, and cause and effect relationships. There again, back to 3rd grade, sequence of events, that's sequential. Comparative, compare and contrast, cause and effect. Okay? Craft and structure is 25 to 30%. So that's the next section. You'll have not as many questions as key ideas and details, but that's the next area will have the most questions. These questions ask you to determine words or phrase meanings, analyze an author's word choice rhetorically, analyze his text structure, understand the author's purpose and perspective, and analyze character's point of view, interpret authorial decisions rhetorically, and differentiate between various perspectives and sources of information. This here, this is like your passage A, passage B. Again, the 2 perspectives from 2 different people. And the last one is integration of knowledge and ideas. For this one, you may have 3 to 5 questions, these types of questions. This category requires you to understand the author's claims, differentiate between fact and opinion, use evidence to make connections between different texts that are related by context. These types. This is where your integration of knowledge and ideas comes in as well. Some questions will require you to analyze how authors construct arguments and to evaluate reasoning and evidence from various sources. Source 1, source 2. Okay. Again, 3 to 5 questions maybe. Key ideas and details, we're talking about 20 to 25 maybe. And then the rest will be craft and structure. Any questions? Okay. Okay. Me?
Yeah, you got it, keep going.
Okay. All right. So let's turn the page. And here's an actual reading test. 35 minutes, 40 questions. All right. The first passage, as promised, prose fiction. Then it tells you where the passage came from. Okay. The next passage, social science. Notice it tells you where that passage came from. The third one is humanities. And then the last one is social science. Now, what I've done for each passage, if you look at the questions, I've pretty much given you what type of question it is. So, if you notice, for the first passage, there are 6 key ideas in detail questions. 6 out of 10. And then the other 4 are craft and structure. Okay? So what I'm going to do is give you like 5 minutes. I don't want you to answer the questions yet. I don't want you to do any answer of the questions. but I want you to look at the questions and get an idea of the meaning of the questions. Like, what are they asking you? Go ahead and underline the key points of each question, the key word in each question. Don't worry about the answers, just look at the questions. I think it's this one. I forget. It's that one. I don't use the air camera. So voicey. No, just start with one.
I'll just do one.
Just do one. We're only dealing with passage one now. All right. So, Don, number one, tell me what you underlined.
Underline. The passage as a whole and narrator.
Absolutely. Now, there's no right or wrong. He said he underlined passage as a whole and narrator. There's no right or wrong because this is your test, your paper. Whatever you feel is going to help you remember, that's what you underline. All right, number two. Michaela?
I underlined the narrator, just to reference like who it was referring to. And then just inspiring, primarily inspiring.
Okay, so basically what inspired him, that's going to help you remember?
For me, yes.
Okay, okay. No right or wrong, that's for you. Okay? For anyone else, she said she underlined the narrator and inspiring. The narrator. I'm not saying that I'm right, and I'm the sharpest knife in the drawer. I underline describes the photos. So when I get to the part where he's talking about photos, how does he describe them? Okay, number three, Amron.
I said lines 25 to 31, so I knew what they were talking about. And then I said the notion. And then I wrote reaction.
Got it. Good. If there's a word that you can relate to better and you want to write it to help you remember it, that's fine. Wayne, number four.
Underline lines 13, 43, and what is the following narrative like?
Literary devices, yep. So we all know, so you can just look those real quick. Alliteration, allusion, personification, or simile. Which one? Okay. Number 5, Brianna?
I underline balance their parental duties with their work.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Number 6, Jay.
I don't know where all of it.
Okay. Okay, so now paragraph 9, line 9. Okay, so line 9 and sweet. So you know you're looking for how do they use sweet in line 9. Number 7, David.
Primary function in line 6 through 10.
Perfect. Number 8, Don.
The narrator as a child in strong sense of.
Okay. Don't forget merchant and merchant. Because even if you're in a rush, you can go straight to where you see merchant and merchant in the passage and read that area, and that'll help you. Okay? Number 9, Michaela.
Line 38 and then drew up.
Perfect. And number 10, Emran.
I said last paragraph and photos. I just wrote that.
Okay, perfect. So what I want to do, I'm going to give you guys 8 minutes. I want you to read passage 1, prose fiction.
I got you.
Thank you. Passage 1, and then you're going to answer the question. Okay?
Answer the question.
You're going to read the passage and then answer the questions on the back. Okay? Now, remember, if you want to underline, take notes or whatever, but just remember, you only have 8 minutes. All right, go.
Oh, no.
Sorry, let me know when you have 2 minutes.
All right.
Thank you.
2 minutes. Time.
All right, put your pencils down. All right, now, I know it may have been like a little cumbersome, a hassle to go back and forth, flipping your paper over. When you take the test, you're gonna have your passage on your left side and the questions on the right side. Correct? Okay. So you won't have to flip your paper back and forth. You can just look right to the left and go back to your passage. All right, so, for this one, I'll let you guys shout out the answers and then grade them, honestly, because I want to see where you guys are. All right, number 1. Anybody?
D.
A. Number 1 is A. See, you guys are not telling me because you don't want to be wrong, but it's good to be wrong. Number 2. Good, J. Number 3. C. Number 4. Who?
H.
H. Number 5. B. As in boy. Number 6. J. Yes. Number 7. Dawn. I didn't hear you.
I didn't get that far.
Wait. What do you mean you didn't get that far?
I didn't hear, I thought you said, you told him to tell us when he said 2 minutes.
He did.
I didn't hear him say it.
Okay, he did. Okay.
My bad, Don. I got you next time.
See how big his mouth is? I don't know why he went that loud. But again, whenever you hear 2 minutes or whatever, letter of the day.
go, let it rip, okay? All right, so I'll let you slide this time, I won't give you.
What was your letter of the day, Don?
I was gonna go with A and F.
A and F, okay, that was your position of the day. So let's set that, I'll
Yeah,
change that.
position of the day.
Position of the day, what number was it? A, so you would've got it right,
Oh, yeah.
cause 7 is A, you would've got it right, okay? Number 8, H. Number 9, B. And number 10, J. Okay, so now I wanna know how many you got correct. Correct. No, I know you didn't finish, so I'll make a note of that. All right, J. Okay, so how many did you get right?
I stopped at, 4.
4. You stopped at 4. Okay. So how many did you get right?
I got my 1 and 2. I got my 3 wrong.
Okay. Okay, Brianna.
I got through 8 of the questions, and of the 8, I got 7 of them right.
Okay, good for you. Did you finish?
Of those 2 questions, I didn't answer.
You did not answer. Okay. Wayne.
I got 4 correct.
Okay. David.
I got 6.
Okay. Donna.
I got 2 correct.
Okay. Michaela.
Out of the 7 that I did, I got 5 right.
Okay. Okay. And Amber.
I technically did 8, but then I like bubbled it in right after you said it, and I got 1 right. So 7 out of 9, I guess.
Okay. Alright, so because Drier whispered, this time, I'm not gonna look at that one too bad. I'm not gonna even count that one, but we're gonna count it, but we're not gonna count it, alright? So, I'm gonna hold on to this, and then when we do the social studies, same thing, I'll watch your score. Drier, you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Ready? Y'all need a break, or you good?
Great.
Break? All right, take 5 minutes. 10:55, take 5 minutes.
I need you.
Bathrooms back there to the right.
Take it up.
Look at everybody on their phone. Look at your Wi-Fi. Hey. Oh, for real? What'd you take last time?
No, I said I won't even do it.
Oh, cause it's not through caffeine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this one's just us. What did you do?
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. So, we're going to talk a little bit about multiple ways to think of a question, if that makes sense, right? Like, there's always, for all the questions on the ACT, SAT, PERT, whatever they are, there's always a mathematical way to approach it, right? And, you know, I got a degree in math, so generally when I see it, I know kind of the mathematical way to approach it. A lot of students don't have that luxury, and so they don't necessarily always have a math way to approach it. Let me give you an example. Next month we have March Madness. You familiar with March Madness? I'm using this term, and you may not know what it is. You're an engineering student. You definitely don't know what it is.
I know what it is.
Do you? Oh yeah, you're a weightlifter. That's right. What is March Madness, baby?
Basically, it's where it's like this weird you say rapidly
She said weird. Yeah.
It's like
Probably because you don't like basketball.
well, it's like a bunch of lines where it's two goes against each other, then one goes out, and then it keeps where the other three they go in, and then eventually they get to.
So there's 64 teams that will start March Madness, right? And it's a tournament. So half the teams will play on the first 2 days, right? So the 64 teams will have 32 games. Does that make sense? Because they get paired up 1-to-1. So there's 32 games. Yeah? After the 32 games are played, they pair them up again. And then we play 16 games. After that, we pair them up again. 8 games. So forth and so on until there's a champion. Question. How many games do you play? See, now you wish you brought your calculator. David, yours is over there.
Yeah, mine.
You don't need it. You like that now.
That'd be 63.
How did you get 63?
Well, every time it's getting 3, you're getting divided by half.
Okay,
Oh, wait, no. There's no. 62.
62.
Okay, I held a game for, like, a game for the champion for some reason.
Yeah, no, you should. Because that's the game that gets played.
So we'll get divided in half each time, so then you add.
Okay, so what the mathematical approach, Wayne, the mathematical approach is 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. Add them all together. Does that make sense, Don? Now, again, so here's the thing about the ACT. They're not going to give you these 6 numbers and say, find the sum. Because that's not going to distinguish anybody from anything. Does that make sense? Like, they're going to make you think about it first, and then go, oh, let's add them all together. Now, I'm not going to go through the tedious process of adding all these together. Suffice it to say you get 63. David, how did you do it? You said you had it, you used a calculator, so how did you do it?
4, 2, and 1 is 7, plus 8 is 15. 16 is 31, plus 32.
Is that how you did it?
Right, all right.
You sound good?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. How many teams win?
1,
How many teams lose?
63.
Got to be 63 games then. Only one team can lose per game, yeah? There's a math way, and then there's sometimes a non-math way. That if you think about it, you can get the answer, and you really didn't have to use math at all. Right? Now this is a tricky one because you're used to thinking in terms of math ways, right? Like, how do I solve this mathematically? How do I solve this mathematically? And it doesn't have to be that. Now, sometimes it does have to be that. Sometimes you just have no freaking choice. You just got to do it. Okay? Let me give you another one. There is no chance you see a problem that looks like this. Divide. Do we all agree? Like, there's just no chance they're going to give you a calculator and say, 7 goes into 13, divide that out. Give me the answer. Let's make it an ACT question. Here we go. When P is divided by 7, the remainder is 4. Now we'll say 5. When P is divided by 7, the remainder is 5. What is the remainder when 5P is divided by 7? Go ahead, try.
25.
The remainder. What is the remainder when 5P is divided by 7?
0.
I love this because they call it a pre-algebra question. Ain't nobody in pre-algebra working that problem. I've taught the course.
Is it 5?
I don't know everything. I just saw it on the internet, so I thought I'd ask y'all.
Do it.
I am going to do it.
Oh, okay, I wanna know.
You wanna know?
I'm reading, I've read it,
You read it.
I've read it.
You underlined
That's
something?
my part, I read,
Okay.
I read it, yeah.
So here's the thing. That is a hard question. But it's not if you know what you're looking for. Give me a number that when I divide it by 7, The remainder is 5. Who?
There's no remainder for 35, right?
35 divided by 7 doesn't have a remainder of 5. 35 divided by 7 is 5. I need the remainder to be 5.
40.
What is it?
40.
Good job, Pete.
So that has a remainder of 5, yes? Now, I was thinking 12. Right? 12 divided by 7 is 1, the remainder of 5. 40 will work though. So we know that this satisfies the condition, right? This has a remainder of 5. So now what do we have to do? Multiply 5 times 40 and divide that. I would have used 12 because it was just 60. It would have been easier. All right, but we can do 200. Right? 7 goes into 200 2 times. 7 goes into 60.
8.
The remainder would have to be 4. Does that make sense? So start to realize that on questions like this, you don't have to immediately try to go into some kind of convoluted math example to get to the answer. Because oftentimes the math way to do it, like to show that using like math and symbols, goes way over everybody's head. And you just sit there kind of like, what the heck? I'll never be able to do that. Okay? With so much of what I want you to understand is sometimes just plugging in numbers is very helpful. Let me say that again. Sometimes plugging in numbers is very helpful. Where should you plug in numbers? Where should you plug in numbers? Okay, let me show you. I'll leave that up so you can look at it. Go home and ask your mom. Hey mom, if P is divided by 7, where could you plug in numbers at? Let's say I gave you 3x plus 9y. And I said factor. Right? I said factor. And let's say you have no idea what the hell factor means. I'm not saying that you do or you don't. I'm just saying let's just pretend you don't. Don, let's assume that you've never even heard the damn term before. But what you have is we'll just put this in for right now. What you have is options, right? We have options. We don't know which one it is. So what can we do? If I'm trying to see which ones are equivalent, I have an expression. I want to get another expression. I can just plug in numbers. Try to avoid plugging in things like 0 and 1. 0 and 1 have very special properties that cause all kinds of weird stuff to happen. Okay? But just plug in x is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. 9 times 2 is 18. Add them together. Does that make sense? And then all you got to do is go like this. What's 12 times 2 times 2? And this is why I want you to bring your calculator tomorrow, please. Because, maybe you know that that's not 24, it's 48. So immediately you go like this. Well, It ain't that one. Does that make sense? Maybe you plug in 2 here. 2 plus 3 times 2 times 3. 24, and then you can check it off. Does that make sense? Sometimes plugging in numbers becomes very easy for you to just try to check to see which ones work and which ones don't. Okay? Any questions on kind of what we're talking about so far? Okay. You good? Dave, you good?
Yeah.
Brianna? Wayne? Skip? Phil sisters? Amron? Not Cameron, Amron. And I don't know your name.
Michaela?
Michaela. Michaela, you good?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's ask this. Let's ask this. Generally, you won't see a straight linear equation that says just solve. Okay? Now, you might see a quadratic equation that says just solve. And even then, they play with it a little bit. Because again, they're trying to distinguish, right? Who's kind of understood Algebra 1, Algebra 2 geometry? Who kind of hasn't understood that? And so, while they wouldn't give you necessarily an equation, but they say, just here, solve this. Because they know what you'll do if they say solve this. Answers are for educational purposes. Okay, I wasn't trying to give you a distractor. Okay. If I just say solve, Wayne, what I would expect you to do, even if you have no clue how to solve it, is do what? Let me give you the last choice, because remember on the math part there's 5 choices, right? Mm-hmm. Plug in the choices. If you have to solve any equation and you don't know, get your calculator out, and I'm going to teach you how to plug that in, because there's a special way to do it, and you can get virtually any of them. Okay? If you are given the choices, here's what you're going to do. If you have to plug in, here's what you're going to do. You're going to plug in the middle one first. Always. Every time. Without exception. Okay? Why? Because they're always ordered. Yes? They're always ordered. So if you plug the middle one in, now you have an identifying point. And then you either have to go up or you have to go down. You should never be really more than about 3 plugins away. If you plugged in 3, you said 8 times 3 plus 7. 24 plus 7 is 31. That's too high. And then you would know what? Work your way back. Does it really matter which one you work your way back to? No. Because if you plug in one and it doesn't work, it must be the other one. Does that make sense? Like if you plug in one and it doesn't work, it must be the other one. If it was too small, you go this way. You plug in the next one. If it works, you're good. If it doesn't, cross it off and the answer must be the last one. So on questions like that, they wouldn't really just give you these choices. They give it to you this way. And so you solve, I like to draw a river. You got to get the x's on the same side. You can move them by changing signs. To get the x by itself, you have to divide it or multiply. So subtract 7, 8x equals negative 16. Divide by 8, x is negative 2. Okay? But now they don't give you negative 2 as a solution, although it will show up. Right? Like, negative 2 will be there. And this is extremely important. Read the question. Because oftentimes there's a second step that goes along with it. Alright? Then you'd plug in negative 2. And you would get negative 16. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Remember, positive times negative is negative. Negative 6 minus 10 is negative 16. And that would be the answer you're looking for. Okay? So, these are kind of pre-algebra questions, but they do it with a twist. They do it with a twist. Or they'll do this. Another very common question. Go, on your own, try that. You have a paper one? You got it, Will?
Who needs paper? Just one. Okay. We can use it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it. Just get me in trouble.
All right. Who thinks they got it? Come on, baby, go ahead.
15.5.
15.5 as a fraction?
Wait, it's supposed to be a fraction.
It could be.
Never mind then.
All right. So, depending on your calculator, did you bring a calculator with you, baby? You didn't bring one, okay. Depending on your calculator, that's why, again, when you come tomorrow, please, because I'll teach you how to use the calculator to your advantage. Okay? Most calculators will handle fractions, and most of them can do it pretty easy if you know how to use it. Okay? So, for example, we have 8x equals 20. Divide by 8, divide by 8. X is equal to, divide by 2, you get 10 over 4. Divide by 2, you get 5 halves. My general rule, and again, my general rule for college students, when they're reducing fractions is, if both numbers are even, divide them by 2. Okay? I see a lot of students who mess around time-wise, trying to think of the greatest common factor. And if you can see it right away, you just go, oh, the greatest common factor is 4, divide it by 4, you're done. That's great. But I would rather have you not waste time on that and just keep doing 2. Although, truthfully, the calculator will give it to you anyway. So you don't even have to worry about it. All right. We add 9, we add 9. Y is 5. Okay. So now you have to add essentially 5 plus 5 halves. And the crazy part here is, the hard part isn't necessarily solving these two equations, is getting to an answer that you can recognize. Okay? Because a lot of people go like this. 5 and 5 halves. Well, that's not a number that's going to ever be an answer, ever. On any level. Ever. If you have to convert a mixed number, remember you multiply the bottom, add the top. If you have to convert a mixed number, multiply the bottom, add the top. But the way I do this, multiply up, multiply up, multiply over. 2 times 5 is 10. 1 times 5 is 5. So it's 15 halves. Now, the ACT is a little different because they will give it to you as a mixed number. So they'll say 7 and 1 half. Okay? What kind of calculator do you have, honey?
This is a TI-84 plus E.
Okay. So you take your answer that you just got.
Yes, sir.
You said it was, what did you say, it was 7.5?
You can fractionize it on here.
Yeah, hit math.
Yep.
And then hit number 1, option for the fraction. On the little TI-30Xs, you can do it as well. There's a second, there's a fraction button that you can press. Okay, so that's why I want you to have it, so I can show you how these things work, because it saves you a great deal of time. So far, so good?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Now, on a question like that, would we normally have our calculator for it, or would that be something more in the non-calculator portion?
I don't think that there was 2 different portions.
The SAT has 2 different.
The SAT has 2 different portions. I don't think the ACT does. The ACT is all calculated the whole time.
That's the easier one? Like, isn't it easier or harder one on the test?
On the ACT versus SAT?
Yeah, math part. They got the same stuff you listed on the.
Yeah, so the ACT, I think generally for most students, they consider it to be harder because it's more word problems. All right, but it's the actual work itself, once you get through the word issues, isn't that complicated. The actual working of the problems is not bad. It's the digesting what the crap is telling you that's the tough part. All right, take for example. Mike made $100. Bill made $200. Sean made $400.
David.
Dave made 0. No. Dave made $300. What percent did Bill and Dave make? How do you do with percentages? Yeah.
So just like for the FAQ, like you take the one you want and then you divide it by the whole.
Right, so you could take what you're trying to find, you would divide it by the whole, right? Take what you're trying to find, divide it by the whole. Okay? So, Dave, Bill made 500. You would divide that by the whole. 700, 900, 1,000. So collectively they made 50%. Use a calculator for that. Okay? If you got a problem like that, you'd probably be pretty happy. Right? You'd be pretty happy. You're like, I can deal with that. All right? You never see that. How about this? We're working on a project. You like working that road? You like working? I don't like it. Not at all. Like pulling weeds. I'll send you out there 2 hours ahead of me. Are you a weed puller or not really? No. Are you a weed puller?
We have a big garden, so I do a lot of that stuff.
Okay, you like it?
Yes, I know.
Okay. Mike works 10 hours. Bill works 8 hours. Sean worked 3 hours. Dave worked 4 hours. We good? Collectively, the job paid $800. How much should Sean get paid? Try. This is much more what you're likely to see.
You tell me bring my charger.
Who?
Where?
Where's your charger at?
The car charger.
Well, she already parked in there.
Oh, bro.
Yeah. So.
No, it's charged fully. I got a charger.
Okay.
The car charger would be more
The- Yeah, so we can get it when we get there if we can find a car. You know what I'm saying? But when we leave, she'll have it for sure. And we'll just follow her to her car. What do you think you get between now and then?
No, I don't think so.
All right. We got an answer. Dave, you got one? What is it?
96.
96, what did you get?
Same answer.
Same answer? Don, 96? Wayne, did you get anything? Did you get anything? All right, so how do we do this? Well, the key here is we got to figure out what percentage of the time Sean worked. Right? Sean worked 3 hours. What percentage is that? Was that a lot or a little bit compared to everybody else?
A little bit.
It's a little bit, right? It's a little bit. And so he worked 3 hours out of how many?
45.
So he's entitled to 3/25. Does that make sense? This then creates essentially a ratio. Okay? Wayne, how do you solve that ratio? Remember? Cross multiply. You seen cross multiply before? Everybody seen cross multiply? Three times 800. Divided by 25. X is equal to. Whatever you said it was, 96, I guess. All right. So understand that percentages are going to come, right? There's just certain things we can count on. I told you Pythagorean theorem. And tomorrow I'll give you a list of Pythagorean triples to pay attention to. Because they use the same numbers over and over again. 3, 4, 5, I mean, in terms of that, is just Very common one that they use. There's a list of about 3 that they run through to make sure everybody can get the answers. Okay? Percentages are coming in some form. I wish I could stand here and tell you it's going to be of this form. Percentages are coming. If you have to do a percentage, is over of equals percent over 100. Is over of equals percent over 100. You can do that for percent discount, where you go in and you buy a pair of shoes, it's $400. You buy, because that's another very common question, right? Sally goes to the store. She buys a shirt, it's $80. She buys a pair of pants, it's $120. She buys this for $50. She buys this for $75. And then she gets a 20% discount. How much does she pay? You add them all together, and then you can do 20% of the total. Okay? Let me show you what I'm talking about. Sally goes to ABC store. That's not ABC like you're thinking of. ABC store is a generic store. All right. She buys a shirt for $80. She buys pants for $95. She buys shoes for $135. She buys a belt for $20. She's a loyal customer, so she gets 20% off. What's your total? Use your phone.
Use the phone calculator.
Yeah, use your phone for today.
You said 264.
I said 264?
No, I'm tripping.
Okay. And problems like this, they can do 20% off, and then they can turn around and say, well, tack on 8% sales tax. And then it's another, you don't need to do that, but talking out loud. It's always and, right? It's solve this and this. Okay? How much did we spend total? How much was the total spent?
330.
How much?
330.
330. Now, how do you think 20% off that total?
Multiply it by
Divide.
0.2 and subtract it.
Multiply it by 0.2 and subtract it. Is everybody okay with that? 330 times 0.2 is 66. And then subtract 330 from 66. 10 minus 6 is 4. 12 minus 6 is 6. 264. Do me a favor, you got a calculator. Type in 330 times 0.8. Tell me what you get.
8% or 8?
0.8.
0.8.
330 times 0.8.
Alright. 264.
What did you get?
264.
Skip, do you know that 20% off